Hey guys, thank you for joining us for Pro Value Media's Market Like a Pro series. My name is Rick Cruz Jr., your digital and print marketing partner, and I will be your moderator for today. Joining us today is Ernesto Gaytan Jr., General Manager from Super Transport International. Ernesto has over 15 years of experience in the trucking industry. As a General Manager for STI Group, he is responsible for overseeing all aspects of operation and administration teams for both U.S. and Mexican STI companies. His border crossing department handles over 25,000 border crossings per year. Their company goal is in maintaining and achieving customers' expectations by leading his team of transportation leaders in all aspects of the industry, including federal regulations, HR, safety, accounting, and security. Ernesto is currently the president of the Laredo Motor Carriers Association. He also serves as a board member for the executive committee for the Texas Trucking Association and is current treasurer as well. He also serves on 2 committees for the American Trucking Association, which allows him to have access to valuable information provided by the local, state, and federal governments. So without further ado, Ernesto, how are you doing today?
Hey, Rick, it's good to see you.
Likewise. How's everything going over there at STI?
Holding up. Things are a little tough, but doing our part to try and continue getting the economy going, keeping our drivers busy and our people busy here. As you know, transportation is an essential. So I'm very involved in making sure that we keep that going, that we have, that we talk constantly with customs, with different local, state, and federal agencies to try and make sure that we have, no obstacles for getting our drivers across the states or different roads, or that things stay open for them. Obviously, taking all the precautions that we need. Everything that's been given to us by the CDC, by WHO, and some of our own policies to make sure that we're taking care of our drivers.
Absolutely. And actually, that's part of the reason why we reached out to you guys, because we noticed that, I know this because of, obviously we service the trucking industry, but a lot of people did not know this until now, but the trucking industry kind of is one of those unsung hero industries that people don't really mention or talk about. Up until recently, you guys have been more in the news because obviously everyone's locked up. They can't go to stores, but America has to keep on moving. And you guys are part of that industry that helps keep those goods coming along, whether they're being hard goods or whatever they may be. I know you guys range in a lot of different industries that you guys move loads for. So that's part of the thing that, I wanted to, again, hats off to you guys, because you guys have to, are very essential to keep everything moving, so that's something that's super important that I don't think people really realized that before, that without you guys, things will stop. So
yeah, a lot of people, and I've had many conversations over the years defending our industry, right? But many people are scared on the road with the drivers. They see a big truck with 18 wheels and they don't want to get close to it. But the reality is that those drivers, to be in that truck, probably had to go through a lot of training. Most of the companies, the federal standards, the state standards, they're very high. We're one of the most regulated industries. So the reality is that the majority of accidents are due to non-commercial vehicles, and that's statistics that I can give you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's very true. I mean, I have been guilty of speeding up and not cutting off. Try not to, because you try to respect them. They are big trucks in the road, but you kind of you look at them as obstacles as a regular driver. You don't look at them as potential.
It's different stopping a 4,000-pound car as stopping an 80,000-pound truck with a trailer full of load. And so for that driver to stop is gonna, if you just cut them off, that's physics.
Yeah, no,
it's gonna happen. So yeah, it definitely is. You have to be very safe driving out there and sharing the road with the drivers. But you know what? The reality is that for our guys, we have drivers with millions of miles safe without accidents. So that's important to know. But we do live in a state with some of the biggest bottlenecks. So we have to be constantly trying to get funding for our state so that we can improve our roads, widen the areas and have a safer road with the commercial drivers as well.
Right, and you touched on something right now as far as the amount of trucks that you guys pass through. That's something that, again, that recently came in the news again, that Laredo got the number one port again for the most traffic through our port. And again, it's another W for us, even though there's a little star next to it. People are talking about how, yeah, because of this, isn't this happened? But we'll take the win. We'll take the W. So that's pretty awesome. And that's the amount of, what number, I know as a president of the LMCA, you guys have obviously privy to the information to those type of things, so I know STI does 25,000 more or less. How many trucks go through here a day or a week? What kind of numbers do you have like that?
Daily, normally between southbound and northbound is around between 14,000 to 16,000 trucks a day. But not only that, a day. But not only that, we're also one of the busiest rail and airports. So, combining all that together is why we're number one right now. I mean, yes, it's has a lot to do with what's going on right now, but the reality is, being number two still right next to LA is still a great accomplishment. And hats off to the people here in our city, and especially the federal, the bridges, the way that they move the commerce efficiently. I think that speaks volumes of how Laredo has grown because of all the business that we have there. So,
yeah,
my hat's off to all the people that make that happen, because 16,000 trucks a day crossing is pretty wild.
that is pretty wild. I mean, that's exactly right. That's pretty wild. I mean, the numbers are just, people don't really think about it, and until you say 16,000, that's just mind-boggling. That's crazy. And because of those 16,000 crossings that happen a day, obviously because of COVID-19, there has to be, I'm assuming things have had to slow down a little bit, not only because of commerce in general, but also because of extra regulations and precautions that you guys are taking. What kind of precautions are you guys taking? Like, I know STI has always been really, really good about, having OSHA, following OSHA guidelines and being up to spec and regular trainings and things like that. But aside from that, obviously now you guys have to wear gear and things like that. I mean, what else are you guys doing currently that again, to help your drivers out with that safety?
I'm always looking at what's going on, especially because I'm involved in so many things. So we took steps pretty early on and started distributing some of the mandated stuff now, and some of the recommendations we started doing a little bit before all this started rolling. And luckily, we haven't had anybody positive for COVID. Thankfully. But I mean, just making sure you're informed, right? Giving the proper equipment to the drivers, to the dispatchers here, to everybody that touches paperwork that could be potentially contaminated. I mean, you don't really know. So disinfecting, having enough supply of all that stuff. We were at one point bringing stuff from Mexico because the problem wasn't that bad there, and we were able to accommodate some of that stuff because of that. But I mean, we're doing everything that's required and maybe a little more. I would say just to avoid that our drivers have, the mask mandate. He is a mandate here, but it's not a mandate in a lot of states and places. And so they were getting some issues at some of the plants where they're delivering. They're saying, hey, why do you have a mask on? Are you sick? And so now they were being kind of discriminated against, and they didn't want to let them in because they were wearing a mask. And so, taking precautions also has its consequences. So people were asking them, like, hey, why are you wearing a mask if you're not sick? Because our city mandates it. And so we're telling the drivers, hey, let's avoid less contact. Every time you get off to a ship or a consignee, make sure you have your mask and your gloves and your eye protection. And so, some people don't understand that, and they it's not mandated in their city, and they're asking why you're doing it.
And I can see how that's scary. I know early on for us here, not as you know, Laredo was one of the very first cities to adopt a mandated, some type of cover that you have to wear on your face, and you're right. Before that, I know you would see certain people with the masks on, and there you go. and when you first see them, you're like, what's going on, right? So it's a little off-putting, and I can see how other people who are not experiencing it yet or believe it's not true, because that's kind of how everyone is taking this in stages where, it's just them. Now it's just them. All of a sudden, it's here now.
Starting to get closer and closer, you definitely feel the pressure, right? We started taking precautions pretty early on, but I did not think that the problem would be this widespread. Had no clue that it would be this severe and to hit the economy so bad. I mean, just restaurants, all the things that move our economy every day. It's just
Yeah, nobody. I've talked to. We have a lot of different clients in different industries, and doesn't matter what industry you're in, everyone's affected. We're all in it together, and that's something that I keep saying. It sounds very cliche, but it's very true. I mean, we're all in it together. Everyone's experiencing the same thing right now. Um, Pretty much the majority of the country or the world, excuse me, is experiencing at the same time. Maybe not the same stage as everybody, but it's definitely happening. And I do see the news every once in a while, and you're like, people are still going to parties and beaches, and you're like, what's going on? Like, reality hasn't set over there yet, and hopefully, they jump on it. But that's good for another win for Laredo, I guess. That's good.
I know. So just going back to what you said about the drivers and how it's time to say hats off to them and thank them for their job. It's an industry that we struggle to get people in the door, but you realize how important and needed they are. Right now, we are with a shortage of about 50,000 drivers nationwide. That's just normal shortage. Who knows what's going to happen after this, right? Right now, freight is low because nothing's moving. But once we come back slowly, some of those drivers aren't going to be coming back to this industry. It's a very respectable job. It pays very well just starting off without having to have major education. And there's a lot of great benefits for it. So I think that, this is our time to kind of push. It's a very respectable job. It's a very necessary job, and it's something that you can do starting right out of, high school and getting into this industry. That's a very respectable industry.
It is. It's very honorable. It really is. I know I've been in the industry for a little while, and now I service the industry, and yes, I mean what drivers go through every day, moving stuff back and forth from point A to point B. I mean, it's just we said it before. Without them, things will stop. You mentioned something right now about discriminating and things like that, and I remember seeing this video on social media that you guys posted. And it was a thank you video that was pretty neat. I was watching it, and basically what happened, I think from what I remember is one of your drivers was at a truck stop, if I'm not mistaken, and this lady came up to him and was offering them free food, and out of the kindness of her own heart.
Yeah, that's the other side of it. I get chills just thinking about that, just because it was so touching. This lady, he wasn't even in the truck stop because it wasn't enough space. So he was near a truck stop parked because he ran out of hours. He was going to rest there. And I was talking to him, and he said, "Oh, hold on." And this lady gave him some food. And then so I was like, "Hey, let me talk to her. Let me just ask her who's doing this." So I want to thank them, right? Especially in these times. And it was just this person just doing out of the kindness of her heart. She doesn't work for anybody, no association of any kind to anything. She just said, "Hey, I know that these drivers need food. The Lord asked me, and this is my way of helping," right? And it was just so touching to see that side of our nation coming together, and also seeing the importance of the drivers and just helping each other. I think that was great. I tried to get her for more information the next day. She's like, "I don't want any recognition or anything. I want to tag her on that video." She's like, I don't. That's not really the point. The point was just, this is what the Lord asked me to do, and so it was really great to see. And she said, when I spoke to you and how you told me how important it was. So today she was cooking lasagna for drivers for the next day. Wow. So she was going to continue to do that as this progresses, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing to see somebody doing it out of the kindness of their heart without any kind of benefit to them.
Yeah, I remember listening to you guys, and obviously I've known you for some time now, and so I know what your voice sounds like, and when you're talking, I can hear you kind of choking up, because it is really a really heartwarming moment and she's talking about it, and you can hear her choking up, and you're choking up, and at the same time I'm getting knot in my throat. And I'm like, wow, dude, it really is amazing, that conversation with you guys. So I know later on we'll put a little link down below so people can watch that video. It's about 4 or 5 minutes, but honestly, guys, I recommend you watch it. It just
Definitely, it's very touching.
it is, like you said, it's a really nice act of human
Kindness.
nature, kindness. Yeah, it really
Well,
is.
right now in this time, we need to be kind. We need to help each other because we're going through a lot. I mean, everybody is. So,
Yeah.
and our drivers, some of our drivers are scared, and some of them have refused, and we don't force dispatch. I mean, you know, we've never forced dispatch. But I had to talk to the driver. He had a load going to New York, to the most affected area, the most affected city. He was going to a hospital that was turned into it was a school hospital that was turned into a regular hospital. And they needed transformers to power this hospital. So our driver was not feeling very comfortable with it, and so I talked to him. I was like, look, it's fine. You don't have to take it, but if we take all the precautions that we're giving you, if you do what you're supposed to, and you're not only delivering something, like this is something essential, like this is what we should be doing, right?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, it's not only just about doing the precautions, but it's also about your drivers also feeling that safety as well for themselves. Because I mean, it is scary out there. Just going to the store is scary. So now imagine, like you said, going to a place that doesn't have any masks. That's even, or like you said, going into New York, where it's the most affected, most populated, dense place in the city in the U.S. I mean, I could see how that would be very scary just thinking about driving into that. So
He told me that there was bodies, like they had not the actual bodies, but he could see that they had trucks full of, what he could see were people, and so he was pretty shocked by it. And when he came back, I said, "Hey, take a couple of days off. It's okay. I understand how shocking that could be to see all that stuff."
yeah.
Uh, the most affected place in the United States to having to go and deliver. But essentially, he did it, and who knows? Those transformers are giving electricity to that hospital, right? So it's something that's necessary.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that because uh, essential is things like that. A transformer to power a hospital. So it's not just goods that you guys are moving; it's also like actual hardware that you guys are moving for construction and building and basically just to keep our way of life as we know it going.
Right.
And yeah, that's amazing that you guys are still doing that. I mean, it's honestly really really brave work because uh, people get scared just going to the store, so that's just amazing. And so hats off to you guys. That's one of the reasons why we were reaching out to you guys to see, how you guys are doing as well, not just to give you guys a hats off, but also like, again, to see how you guys are faring off in that sense.
Definitely affected us. I mean, automotive is a big chunk of what we do. And so that's completely shut down as it's not essential. And so even though I think it's essential for our economy, it might not be essential for, to avoid health risks at those plants. So I think pretty soon they're going to start reopening. I've seen some dates as early as the end of April, beginning of May. So hopefully we start seeing some of that volume come back. Obviously, everything's going to change once it comes back. I think we're going to continue to keep these precautions until further notice or maybe forever. Who knows? I mean, it could be a new standard of how we live now. The masks, the gloves, the things that we have implemented, the sanitation, the hand sanitizer everywhere.
Yeah, no, and you're absolutely right about that. I know things are not going to be the same for sure after this. I know once that quarantine ordinance gets lifted. I mean, I know I've talked to a lot of business owners, and everyone thinks that people are just going to go back to business, and it's like I don't think so. People are going to be very wary of going
It's
to
gonna be
everywhere.
slow to start. I do predict once it does start, because of our driver shortage, because things are just going to kind of start gradually. In our industry, we're going to have a need for more drivers. And so that's going to drive up the cost of transportation. Right now, I mean, as you know, look at the fuel prices, the fight between, U.S., Saudi Arabia, and Russia has brought down the fuel, you know, to a halt. So a lot of those drivers also might be coming in from that industry to our industry, but it doesn't solve the problem. It solves it for a little while, but once that starts back up, then they go back to the oil field work. So I think, we need to continue to think of new ways to bring people into our industry um, to have a good working workforce, because whenever things like this happen, we don't have enough capacity. That's when we run into problems. We don't have drivers. Who's going to deliver supplies to hospitals? Who's going to deliver, groceries to grocery stores? Things like
Yeah,
that.
and I'm actually glad you mentioned that, because I know you mentioned earlier that obviously before all this, it was always a driver shortage already as it is,
Mhm.
and one thing, again, another wanted to commend you guys for is having those, like you mentioned, those awesome benefits that you guys offer for your drivers. So obviously when everything is over, or when things start getting a little better, you guys will start hiring again. Uh,
Right.
and but the benefits that you guys have for those drivers, it's just it's better than most people have in other industries. So most people industries don't even have any benefits, and you guys offer, benefits and I can't get into it, but it's an HR thing. But I know you guys offer a lot of different type of benefits, so that's pretty awesome. That's something that people should consider. Like you mentioned, it is a very respectable and honorable trade that you guys do. Again, it's good work. Yeah.
Yep. And here at STI, we are always pride ourselves with long-term relationships. So not just with our customers, but with our employees, with our drivers, with our vendors. That's kind of the thing that we've been instilled from my father, who's the founder of STI. It's always been about long-term relationships. So a lot of our drivers and employees, they stick around for a long time because we feel we have a like a
It's definitely a family for you
yeah,
guys.
un compromiso, I want to say in Spanish.
Yeah. No, go for it. We're bilingual.
Un compromiso que tenemos con ellos, ¿verdad? So I feel like it's very it's something that it's been instilled in all of us here, and that we follow greatly.
It is, and I personally know your father as well, and have worked with STI for easily 16, 17 years. And during that time, you're right, you have a lot of people that have been with you guys, in some cases almost from the beginning, that I've seen, that and are still with you guys. So you're talking about 25 years plus that are still with you guys, and that's amazing. Like you mentioned, that commitment, that like you said, that compromiso of that family togetherness that you guys offer there, it really is uh, real, is what I'm trying to say. So that's awesome again.
Yeah, I know you know a lot of the people that when you used to work here. I mean, they're still here.
Yeah, it's amazing. They're still there. Everyone's been moving up. You
Yeah, I mean,
know,
they're also serving different roles, right? But
yeah.
people have stayed and have grown with us, and that's what we like to see. The growth together with our employees and our customers. Remember when we used to load cargo for a client that just started out? They were shipping small stuff, and now they're huge plant, and we're like their largest supplier. So things like that, like so you grow with the people, you grow with the customer, you grow with the vendors, and the long-term relationship. I think is something very important to us.
No, I definitely agree. And again, that's part of the reason why we wanted to reach out to you guys, because again, I know you guys have been doing great work. And I don't want to keep you any more from your time. I know you got busy. I know you have a bunch of loads and crossings that you guys have to worry about. So again, thank you for your time again. And again, thank you for your service as well. I mean, what you guys are doing is really brave out there, and really good work. So thank you again for that.
I appreciate it, and thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.